So I decided I didn't want any Ohio State students to go out and give terrible talks, so I came up with this presentation. That's what motivated all this. Okay? Complicated plots, and you may have some, so you want to build them up raise them from a pup, I like to say. You're going to gradually add complexity. Slides are cheap. When I was young, don't get me started. $1 a piece, did I mention that? More if they're in color. So build up the complete plot, explain what you're looking for, and let me show you a slide from a very hot place. I actually got this from a book. Let me read you this axis. Cumulative percentage of failures based on averaging measurements made in 3 real test series conducted at ambient temperatures of 20 degrees C, 30 degrees C, and 40 degrees C, respectively. Against elapsed time, blah, blah, blah. And then what's all this stuff? There's too much stuff. So if you want to present this, and I got this, by the way, from this book on technical presentations, start with this, okay? I changed that 3 paragraphs to failures, because that's the point. It was failures, percent, time, days, okay? And I say, look, I measured part A. I did it at 250 volts. It had this kind of behavior. I would say a few kind of words about that behavior, and then I would say I measured part A at some other voltages, and it had similar behavior. The failure rate went up when I jacked up the voltage above, and you're becoming one with this part and the idea. You get sort of how they behave, and I can easily say, and then I did it for 2 other parts. It doesn't take me any longer to get to this part and get you through it with 3 plots that it did was trying to explain that other plot. In fact, it's probably shorter, and you actually could probably follow what it was. Okay? Use of color. Someone says, find the round things. You can find them, but before I even said it, you say, hey, what are those 2 pink things? Okay? The fact that those 2 things are pink probably means they're related. Even without telling you, I somehow subliminally conveyed to you that the pink things are related to each other. So you can use that, like Paul Friedrich did. He labeled the plot and with the label in the same color, so I know for sure that this goes with this and not with this black line. Same thing like that. Or another example, here is a figure, and I have 2 different paths for the optical beam. So my light comes in, and I might say, well, you know, in certain conditions, the light will bounce back and forth and follow this pink path. But if I flip a mirror on the MEMS, the light will switch, and it will go and it will follow this green path, blah, blah, blah. So you can see the 2 different paths clearly. If they were the same color, you wouldn't be able to. Okay? Especially among engineers, we are not amused with it. Basically, a rule of thumb is, if you find yourself animating text, check your dosage. Okay? But they can be effective, animations can. So maybe I'm talking about some horribly complicated, we actually built this lens system, and I can start by saying, well, this lens images this guy onto that guy, and this one images this plane onto that plane, blah, blah. And now I'm going to add a level of complexity. I have all these other lenses, they're field lenses, and you can see how they get in there. So you sort of gradually build up complexity, you know, but they're not dancing. You know, they're not shooting fireworks or anything. So it's a way to build up complexity. Citations. You must cite anything that's not your own work. Well, within reason. I can use Ohm's law. You probably know that my name isn't Ohm, and I didn't invent Ohm's law, so we'll cut me some slack on that one. But anytime you're not even sure, just cite it. It's much safer to cite it. You never know who's going to be in the audience. You know, the person whose equation or paper that was, or their best friend, or one of their students, something like that. So the rules are, citations. If you reproduce something, which means you download the figure from the internet, you scan a figure from somebody's paper, or even your own paper, you don't have to cite. Scan something, reproduce it exactly. You need to put a full citation on the slide with the journal and all that stuff. If you redraw it, and you probably will because you want to make it simple and bold and stuff, then you say after, and so, and put the whole citation. The reason you say after is maybe you took a figure from my dissertation or my paper and you left out my favorite part. Well, I'm going to be incensed because you might have implied that that I would forget to put the power supply in the figure or something like that. No. You just say after and, oh, okay, we know you made some adjustments. Maybe you used the color I hate the most. I don't know. But that's what you do there. With tables, the exception is tables. With a table, if you reproduce the information in the table exactly, even if you change the font or the width of the columns, that's considered reproducing it exactly. You just give the citation. If one of the rows in a table doesn't support your statement, so you kind of accidentally leave that row out, now you say after, because you've made a change to the table and you don't want people to think, you don't want the author to think, the author doesn't want other people to think he wrote the table that way. Okay? I also recommend you always number your slides. It's an easy thing to do, and that way when people have questions at the end, they can say, could you please go back to slide 247, and you can get there pretty easily. Oh, this is the part we all worry about. Oh no, what are they going to ask me? What if I don't know the answers? Well, relax. It's not all that bad. First of all, people want you to succeed. They're on your side. When you go into a seminar and you sit down, don't you hope that the person's going to give you a good talk? And you're going to know the answers to 80% of what they ask you. Why? Because it's your presentation. And you're not going to know the answers to some of the stuff. Because if you did, we'd think you were a jerk. Right? No, nobody knows everything, smarty pants, so it's okay to not know. So what I'm going to teach you is some good ways to say I don't know. So I haven't looked into that aspect. You know, well, I never thought to do that. Or I'm not familiar enough with piezoelectric devices to give you a good answer. You don't have to be familiar with piezoelectric devices. Your dissertation's on something else. Your project's on something else. And so I come in and I happen to be an expert on PCTs. I want you to ask what you don't have to know. It's okay to say you don't know. That'd be an interesting question to look into. That's what you use for, I have no idea what you just asked me. Okay? Or, this is a great one. I don't know, but maybe somebody else in the room can answer. Whoa, you deflected from you. I got a mirror. Now it's back on you. Let's see you guys figure it out. Can't use that at your defense, but you can use it other places. What you don't want to do is you don't want to go, oh no. You know? So what about the guy who's really nasty and really wants to turn the screw and put you near your place? It's very, very rare. Almost never happens. And when it does, it's usually the person, the mean person, trying to attract attention to themselves. So the question is, what do they really want? Sometimes it's just they want to get up and say a lot of words with big technical words in it, and just so, hey, I'm smart, I know some technical words, and hey, everyone has to listen to me because I just stood up and asked a question. Sometimes there isn't even a question in there. Sometimes all you have to do is say, oh, thank you, and move on. Wants to hear himself self-talk? Often happens. Generally wants to put you down? Very rare. They don't care, right? It's always about them. But I'll tell you a story. I was at a conference. It was a big conference. And we were in this room. There were like 300 people in this room. And you know, everybody had their 15 minutes, and they were supposed to have slides and so forth. This guy comes up, and he didn't have any slides. He had a card. And he got up in front of us. He had a 15-minute time slot. It turns out he didn't speak English. He came from a place far, far away. And he read this card. We couldn't understand it because he didn't speak English. I think the card was in English, but we couldn't understand it. And he read it. It was a 3x5 card. He read it, and he says, thank you very much. And we're looking at him. Oh, I can't believe you flew all this way. Didn't you know you're supposed to have slides? Didn't you know that you're supposed to take 15 minutes and stuff, and you don't even speak English? Well, somebody in the back got up. He got up. He said, well, what was the point of that? I didn't learn anything. All of a sudden, 299 pairs of eyeballs swivel and look at the guy. What? Look at this poor guy. He flew all the way from who knows where. He didn't know he was supposed to have slides. He doesn't even speak English. You know, so as soon as the person attacked the speaker, we were all on the speaker's side, right? So, worth remembering. It's a true story. So, things to watch out for, as if any of us can do this on the fly. I don't have the wherewithal, but it's a hypothetical question. Suppose I used your device to jack up my car. What would happen? You don't know. You're not working on car jacks. You don't have to answer that. You don't have to answer that. In fact, what you can do is, since you're required by law to repeat the question, you can say, oh, the question was, why didn't I, and you reword it. You don't have to answer it. You don't have to know. You're allowed to not know everything. In fact, we prefer if you don't know everything. So you say, I don't know. I haven't looked into that application. You don't go, oh, I don't know. You say, I don't know. See how much smarter that sounds? So don't BS, don't guess, don't speculate. Given a deservedly low regard for, right? When you hear that, you know something's coming your way. Did you mean to tell me, or since all you big companies get together to set your prices, don't ignore it because it's tacitly agreeing with it, right? Address it. Well, first I'll answer your question, but first let me address your allegation. You can be friendly about it. You don't have to bust their chops. Loaded words like failure, overrun, delay, swindle, small, impractical, whatever. The poor design of your laser, ooh, they're on my case. Poor design of your laser makes it impractical for jacking up cars. Huh, this is my chance. I have to reword the question. So I'm going to say, oh, the question was, why was a laser made from a semiconductor chip instead of industrial steel? It's a stupid example, but you get the idea now. Who looks silly? Ha, yeah. Okay? If someone keeps busting your chops, guess what? The rest of us don't want to listen to you two bicker, right? Take it outside. You can say, clearly we have a difference of opinion here. This is America. We love differences of opinion. That's okay. If they won't get off your case, offer to discuss it privately outside of the session. Outside of session, we can't tell if you're going to use bad words. You know, if you take the guy out in the parking lot and rough him up, fine, you know. Just don't waste the audience's time. Your behavior, try not to sway, try not to fidget. If you're the kind of person who's going to jingle change in your pocket, don't put change in your pocket. Leave it back at your desk or whatever. If there's an interruption, somebody drops a book, everyone's going to look at the person dropping the book. Don't try to talk over it. Look at the person who dropped the book, make sure they're okay, great, and then go back and continue. People are surprised by this one. Don't apologize for bad slides. The reason that we say that is if you show a bad slide, it says, I don't care. If you show a bad slide and say, oh, sorry for the bad slide, I'm saying, I don't care about you, right? You're not worthy of my time to go find a good slide or create a good slide. So if you have a bad slide, even if you know it's bad, don't admit that you know it's bad. It's better to look like you're an imbecile than like you're rude. Don't read from a script. And I say, if you can avoid it. Some people seize up, right? If you are one of those people who, you see a bunch of people, you can't talk. If you have a script and you have to read it, then by all means read it. We'd rather listen to you read a script than listen to you stammer. Laser pointers. Point to what you're talking about, especially if you're hard to understand. So if I'm saying the word threshold, this would be a good time for me to point out the word threshold. Don't wave it wildly, and don't do this. Ha, ha, guess where I was pointing at? You weren't quick enough. There, ha, that was my key point. I hope you were paying attention. Let people see where the point is and then follow it to what your point is. If you have these TV kind of pointers, don't wrap the screen. We hate that. And if you have one of these and you're nervous and you're doing like this, that's distracting. Don't keep opening and closing it. Okay, do smile. It puts people at ease. People like to be relaxed. Make eye contact. Keeps them from going to sleep. And if you see them playing Angry Birds, boy, they'll be embarrassed. Take a deep breath before you start. You'd be amazed at how much that helps you just get going. Pause for effect. Show enthusiasm. This is your science. If you're excited about your science, we're excited about your science. If you go, nah, 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 we don't care about your science. Repeat your key points and be sure to repeat your key points. Finally, remember to state your key points more than once. Try to use short internal summaries to create opportunities to reuse your key points. Tell them what you're going to tell them. Tell them what you told them. And be sure to summarize your key points. And be sure to spell check your slides. Oops. Ha, I lied. See, when I said and in conclusion, or finally, or in summary, all the people I lost at slide 1 are coming up, and all the people I lost at slide 10 waking up. And when I say in conclusion, eyelids fly open, pens come out, trip reports get written. All right? So you want to make sure your conclusion has your key points. A talk is not a paper. You can't cover everything. You need to plan. You need to restate your points, key points in different ways. Simplify your slides and practice your talk. Thank you for coming. Thank you very much.